like it when handsy. First class flights, don't say you can't leave. Who don't like a lifestyle? It's fancy. I've been on it every day now. I got money on my mind, now they better pay me. Bet they wanna see me way down. Overthinking every night, think I'm going crazy. Don't know what else I should say now. Early mornings, late nights, all I know lately. Cause I'm on it every day now. I don't like to break you down, but it never break me. I'm sprinting on the track, I'm never living slow. Ain't knowing that I shine like Olympic gold. Summer's almost over, this my winter flow. They hear it in they jacket, that's a winter coat. Girls in mini skirts, yeah, they getting cold. Order a couple shots, that's the antidote. Now that shawty snapping like she been in vogue. Heard she got a man, well I didn't know. Talking all that shit like I didn't know. Live so fast, it got me slow. H-Town girls really got me though. Top the screw, I gotta go. Me, I'm fly, yeah, I've been told. Moving state to state, yeah, I did shows. Build the enterprise out the rental. This the life I'm in for. I've been on it every day now. I got money on my mind, now they better pay me. Bet they wanna see me way down. Overthinking every night, think I'm going crazy. Don't know what else I should say now. Early mornings, late nights, all I know lately. Cause I'm on it every day now. I don't like to break you down, but it never break me.
Tired of being a baller, thumbing this bitch like my father was. Often expecting the obvious, thinking we better, but you make it harder, Lie to myself, I'm okay, Fast, fight with the pain, pray that he get in the way. Tired of being a baller, thumbing this bitch like my father was. Often expecting the obvious, thinking we better, but you make it harder, Lie to myself, I'm okay, mess, cover the pain, pray that he get in the way, cause looks like I'm getting some charges today. I just need shit in my safe, empty but feeling myself with the blame. Sorry I get in the way, sorry I quoted compared to some dandruff I flake. Sorry my mama producing them all, so you know there's just way too much rights to be made. Sights to be seen, no one believed in it, baby, so fuck it, I'll die for this dream. One day we'll ride through the city of LA, just a blunt in my mouth with a house in the hills. See me blow it, would you love me still? Cause I know I ain't changing, and with you I feel amazing. Tired of being a baller, numbing this bitch like my father was. Often expecting the obvious, thinking we better, but you make it harder, Lie to myself, I'm okay, a mess, cover the pain, pray that he get in the way, cause looks like I'm getting some charges today. Getting some charges today, my bro be sending that way. He make it back, then he flip it, but swear to God he ain't the same. Crazy inside of his cage, roll me and grab it, erasing the pain. Tired of speaking, ain't done it in days. Hoping this shit be a phase, I'm okay. Tired of being a bother, numbing this bitch like my father was. Often expecting the obvious, thinking we better, but you make it harder, Lie to myself, I'm okay, a mess, cover the pain, pray that he get in the way, cause looks like I'm
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome into the Cryptic Zoo Smite League. My name is Kaizo. I'm going to be your chair one in this journey tonight, and I'm going to be joined on the broadcast by the lovely and wonderful Shio the Oni, and we're going to be bringing you some Amazon action. We're going down into the Golden Below League. These are our less experienced players, but Shio, these are always your most passionate players. Nobody ever in this entire game's history has wanted it more, has wanted to improve more than these Amazon level players.
I cannot. I'll I'll 100% agree with you, Kaizo, because everybody knows when you're gold, you literally have many tiers to go up. You got your plat, your diamond, your master, and then
Yep.
your GMs. You got a long way to climb up.
Got a long way to climb up and mostly nowhere to go but up. I mean, you could go a little lower, but let's look optimistic here. We're going to see just how much these players are capable of. And actually, along that vein, that's sort of the theme for tonight. This is a divisional trial here. So all of these players not 100% placed exactly where we know that they need to be. A lot of these guys are a bit of wild cards. I think that we should expect to see a pretty broad spread in experience level, in skill level tonight. I think that we won't be shocked if there's a deliberate gap in between any of these players, but that's what happens when you're just trying to vet out and find where everybody's at. You're going to find some people lower, some people higher, so we'll keep a lookout and see where everybody shakes down to. Shio, tell me about this golden under division. So if you are a golden under player, should you be doing something differently than say they're doing in the SPL, or do you think you pretty much stick to the same stuff?
While everything that the SPL does, that's after hours and hours of practice. While the comps are down, you always see them pick some picks at a meta, weird. The Susano mid, Chalk mid, we have seen those around. Normally, I would say when you're down in this division, to stay safe in what you're comfortable with.
Right. Yeah, I think that you're probably in the right there. You want to make sure that whatever you're playing, that's what you're good at. You don't necessarily have all of the experience on all of these different picks. I mean, most of our golden under players, at least in my experience, are fairly new, at least to the competitive scene. You don't see a lot of people stick around for too long, a lot of people on the up and up. So you haven't had too many chances to get too many reps on all of these different characters. And I think that you're probably right to estimate that we're going to be sticking to a lot of what we're comfortable with, what we've been seeing, and no exception here in these bands. We'll see Khepri, Cabrek, and Guan Yu. These are some of the best gods Smite has to offer right now being taken off the table. So I think that it's probably in the best interest to get rid of these ones. But Cthulhu banned away in the last phase for the Chaos team. Leaves open for the Order side this Daji, and by God, Shio, is this Daji a force?
Daji right now is a dominant pick from everything that I've seen. If you're not picking up the Guan, then you're picking up the Daji. The Cthulhu pick, I'm starting to think that might be a personal ban against somebody on the enemy team. But on the Chaos side, we have the immediate response to the Hades pick. That is another prominent solo pick that is normally picked to counteract the Guan.
Yeah, and I mean, Hades very strong in his own right, even outside of that matchup. I think that people have put a lot more favor in this character very recently. I think you dial back the clocks even just a couple of months ago, you don't see a whole lot of Hades, if at all. Pretty sure that's one of the lowest pick rates down there with, like, you've got your Raijin and stuff like that. Admittedly on the up and up, but, you know, somewhere toward the bottom. This Yamoja, however, is certainly one that we are accustomed to seeing. Very strong support in her own right, does get pulled by this Daji, no innate CC immune ability in her kit. How do you feel about this Daji matchup specifically into the Emoja? Should the Emoja be afraid of this pick? Are you comfortable with them picking it here, or is the Emoja just good enough on her own that you're willing to pick it even if she gets pulled by this Daji?
I will leave
The
standing
amount of
no
crowd control that
barrier
Yamoja
because of
applies to the enemy team, along with as soon as Daji goes up into a powwow, you drop those rivers of rebuke, you separate everything in the team fight. Now the enemy team either A has to drop everything, leap in, or burn an active shell to be able to continue the fight, or they back off.
Yeah, and forcing somebody to get a relic is, I think, one of the strongest things you can do in Smite. Anytime you're making the other team respond to what you're doing, you're definitely doing something right. And this shell, I mean, like you said, it gets you out of the Emoji ult, but you really want that other side upgrade. You get specifically the Phantom Shell, and you can walk through the walls. You can walk through that Rivers of Uke. But that means you don't get the mitigations on the other side, so you're giving up something for that. So it is definitely a change out here, and we'll see this first round of picks rounded out with Ganesh, who can notably dash through those Yemoja walls, and Nike, who we don't see a whole lot of. Now, Shio, I'll pose this one to you. I have been seeing in my ranked games, and I haven't been loving it, a little bit more Nike jungle. Do you think that this is a Nike jungle, or are we probably seeing this go into the solo against this Hades?
With the Dodgy locked in already, that more than likely will be a Nike solo. But with what the Nike presents on itself is, last time I checked, is it what, a 40% massive slow
It's a
on
lot.
a team that lasts 3 seconds, which is pretty big. And you also got to take into account Nike's passive benefits the whole team. That is extra speed and power.
Yeah, and that gets better with age, like a fine wine. You get a little bit early on, and it is percentage based, like you said. So even when you don't have all those laurels earlier on, it feels a lot worse than it does later on. The more you get the more you get power, the more you get movement speed, the more that percentage starts to add up over time. So we're definitely going to look for them to transition this order side composition into that late game phase, and we'll take a look at these last couple of bans here. We've got a Willish and Robin, who has been seeing a lot of second round target banning from this Robin. I think that people are starting to finally realize that this god is just good. He's not necessarily the best at doing anything, but he's not the worst at doing anything either. He's probably a fine enough pick into most compositions, so I don't hate the idea to take him away, but Nua being picked for this Chaos side. Where are we going with this? What's the idea behind this Nua?
This Nua pick is really out of
It's
left
weird.
field. But if they're picking it, then I'm guessing this is a comfort character.
Right.
But
Yeah,
from what I'm guessing is the 5 seconds, if I remember correctly, that Nua is in the air might provide her just enough time for when the enemy shows up for her team to be able to rotate.
Yeah, and also, obviously, that global damage, pretty impactful as well. I think that you love to get all of those kill credits whenever you can, or at least the assists every time you press that 4 key. So Nua has a little bit to offer. You've got your Clay Soldier explosion. That does a whole bunch of burst damage, and I think that if you group that up in a Hades ult where everybody's pretty much congregated together, that can do a whole bunch of damage. And across the way, speaking of damage, we've got Stilla locked in for this mid laner, another one that we don't see a whole lot of, and I do really like that for especially these lower divisions. Nobody is picking Scylla off of a tier list, which means one would think this is a player that wants to play Scylla. And I say, you're totally right what you said on the top of the desk segment. If they want the god, give them the god. Just make them comfortable on the pick. And Scylla definitely in that category.
When you're also looking into this team fight with that Scylla pick, you have the perfect follow-up from the Dodgy pull straight into I'm a Monster. Big burst damage. And if you don't even want that, once Ganesh drops the pillars, Crush can pretty much cover that whole central area inside of the Ganesh cage. So either you walk out, take the your protection reduction, or you eat a Scylla Crush.
And isn't Ganesh ult crazy, by the way? Because not only are you taking protection reduction, you're also taking damage, you're also being slowed. It's not a great place to be. That's certainly not one that you want to be in. And I think that it's worth noting that this Yemoja is certainly capable of being stuck in there. She doesn't have the greatest way to get out, especially if Ganesh drops a silence on top of that. Just makes things even more difficult for her to move around in there. I think that this could be a particularly precarious position Try to say that 3 times fast for this emoji if she's not careful. Positioning going to have to be fairly immaculate from the best Gary as we load into this one, so we'll keep an eye on specifically this support matchup because I do think these guys can mess each other up if they're not careful, but as we load in, I do want to touch on this was the last overall pick in this draft, number 10 pick of this Bastet. Now, this is a god that we see some in the solo lane, not the best solo laner, not the worst either, but we're going to be seeing it in the jungle tonight. And Shio, I have not seen this god jungle in like 6 or 7 months. So what do you think if you're Bash 45269? Why are you picking this Bastet into this team composition? Where's the attraction point there?
You have 2 characters on the enemy team that, if you pinpoint it accurately, you can pull into your enemy team. You can make Hoi come out of position or force Ganesh onto your side and make him drop his ult or burn his relics.
Yeah, that's very true. Very good at abusing those cooldowns, and with a character like Bastet, she's got, what's basically a mobile Fenrir ult. Like, if you could get Ragnarok as a projectile attack, that's basically what this Bastet ult does. Although, honestly, maybe even a little bit better on account of the fact that it can, go through walls and all that fun stuff. You don't have to get restricted by any of the shenanigans of the map and get the Opwash effect, where I desperately want to do all my damage, but there's a small pebble in the way, so none of my abilities are going to go through it. So I think that you're right to target the fact that this Bastet's certainly capable of abusing these characters and pulling them back in. And I'm going to go ahead and take one last final look around to see if there's got any more shenanigans here, but everything else pretty much shaking down how you might have expected. I mean, Nuwa comfortably sitting in this mid position, conduit gems start there. Across the way, you've got that Sands of Time. What kind of mid builds are we looking at here? What's the reason for the split between these two? Are they equally good, or do you think that one maybe has the upper hand over the other?
Scylla's power spike will come later on with her going into Warlocks. Meanwhile, on the new wall, she's going for a quick penetration build to get the best out of her ult. Because early games, you're not going to have that much protections, and that flat pin will hurt.
Yeah, and I think that you're right to call attention to the flat pen, which recently saw a buff. I mean, we get, a little bit more flat pen on each of those flat pen items. I think that it was 12 to 15, which, 3 flat pen doesn't sound a lot, but you typically don't just build one, you build a couple of them in that role usually, and once you add that up over time, that begets a lot more. Hang on, Gudar in the left side of the map is going to get dashed in on by Fugal. That's going to block him down, but Kumbhakarna with good body blocks here will catch him. Will not be enough to kill him, however, as he does manage to eke his way out of that one, but certainly some butt cheek clenching in the left lane. That was a little close.
Hoi will now have to be careful because he burned beads early on. Literally 1 minute in, no beads. And with a Yamoja on the opposite side, he does not want to be caught by the 1-2 combo. Especially followed up with a Hoi dash.
Yeah, and it got him out of there just in time. And hang on, actually, Dodgy jumping in here on 2 people. That could have been disaster in the right mids as well, but instead does manage to get into that, what is that, the Cat of Nine Tails, what have you, and will get on out of there. But mid camps will certainly go over to this red team as now shift our attention back over here to this dual lane. And like you said, without these beads on this Hu Yi, this is a very scary position. Hachi not the best at getting these early on kills, but if you put yourself in an abusable spot, you could be in trouble. And now Kumbhakarna puts himself in one as well, but should be just fine here. A lot of early scrappy fighting here. I like to see it.
Something that I think we forgot to notice was Ganesh also burnt his shell during that fight. He does not have it up for 60 seconds.
Oh yeah. You're absolutely right, and without that cooldown, that is all the more reason that this red team can look to get aggressive. I think that they might have also gotten the Scepter, which is, it's a new addition, so certainly not something that everyone should be familiar with. But what does this Indra Scepter do for you, Shio? What value do you get out of picking this up now that we have, I believe it's Google, or no, it is actually Gary that has that one floating around here.
The scepter for support, it allows you to literally just stand in front of the wave and let the scepter do the damage while you hold your abilities to be able to set something up for your carry or to bail them out. It's basically a resource that the support now has, or the carry, to save mana.
Save mana and do a little bit more damage too. Don't forget that does percent HP damage over time, so that'll gradually tick you down. Not the most if you're low. You're not going to get last hit by this thing by any means. You used to be able to, but we don't see that anymore. And hang on, we see a little bit of action in the solo lane here. Nike going to have to back off screen, 1 HP forced out by this Hades, and that doesn't look like a fun matchup if you're this Nike.
Her shell was also burned off screen, so she does not have that up. But it looks like what did Hades burn? What item is that? Is that
he's got teleport is now on cooldown,
okay.
And actually now that we're talking about it, why shell on this Nike? Why would you not be looking at the teleport as well? I mean, it probably saved her life there, but I can't imagine that you're going to be glad now that you have to walk all the way back to lane. Why do you think she elected for the shell here?
When you go with the Nike pick, you were kind of agreeing, okay, my beginning phase is not going to be that well, especially against the top end characters right now. What I want to do is to be able to survive and transition any item that I have into a team fight. And with them having 2 shells on the Ganesh and the Nike, that is more safety for the squishy backline.
Yeah, it's very good to point out, actually, and notably, that can immune some of this Nuwa ult damage. I mean, even if you don't have an Aegis, you can at least get a good shell, and that might save you, as Nike burns the ult here in left lane, maybe a little bit spooked by that engage from Hades, but now this blue buff is spawning here, and Daji is on speed buff right now, but not close enough. Surely they know that this is coming up. Hades will linger a little bit longer, and Nyx is hanging out here, but they actually drop it. I feel like they could have invaded that one.
Oh, nope. Looks like she might be coming. Oh, nope. Daji is not going for it. But Bastet is starting to engage on it, but looks like they're going to collapse on her.
Yeah, they're going to steal that one away. Actually, she doesn't manage to get it. Now it's trouble for Bash, who has no jump. Nike jumps in here. There's a whole bunch of damage coming out from this Daji. Tick damage over time will net your first blood of this game, and that's going to go to Daniel Risco. I should have read these names ahead of time. Shout out my boy on the Daji getting that first blood.
It was quite unfortunate that Daji decided to use her jump to finish that buff at the exact moment that both Nike and Daji showed up. Without that escape, she really had nowhere else to go.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the very sad thing where it's like you jump up, you jump right back down in the same place, and you haven't made any progress. I don't think that we ever see a scenario where she lives that, and actually it's probably for the better in that case that she does hold on to the ultimate. You can see that blue diamond on the right-hand side still available, so probably smart to hold on to that for the next engagement. Didn't get the buff either, though, and that's very important. If you're going to be killing yourself for that play, you have to make sure you get that blue buff. But considering she didn't, that's a lose-lose scenario now, and that puts this Hades tremendously far ahead. Things are looking even worse for this Nike.
From what we're starting to look at the builds, the whole order team is nothing but stacks. You got 2 Transcendents, a Goblet of Warlocks, and then Soul Eater.
I love it, but you know who doesn't love it is Nike. She's going to get rooted by this Bastet and will finally pay for her transgression. That's an answer back from the Chaos team here. And notably, Nuwa gets credit for that, so keep your eye on every single time these kills go down. There is a chance that this Nuwa gets free farm. She pressed 4 there and got rewarded with gold. That is the easiest response you can get in the entire game to just get free gold into your tank. So a little bit of a little something there for this Nuwa, who actually pressured into the tower here. Bastet very low in mid will be forced under that tier 1 mid as well and forced to back. Daji burns the Powwow. I don't think we saw a whole lot of value from that. No beads forced off of the red team, so Daniel can't manage to find a mark with any of those Daji ult shots.
And just like expected, looks like Nuwa went for Spear of Desolation, getting some power, pen, and cooldown if I remember correctly.
Yep. And what do you think about this Spear of Desolation pickup as opposed to something like we see, you pointed out Scylla has this Warlock staff. Why do you think Nuwa elected to go for the Spear of Desolation first instead?
Spear of Desolation early on for a Nuwa with the global ult is great damage. Especially following it up that she has the Soul Gem. If she lets that stack all the way to 20 and then ults, that's bonus damage.
That's bonus. That's 40 bonus damage, in fact. Like, that's no small chunk of change. And don't forget, that's true damage on that baby, too. You're not mitigating any of that. So I think that is, you're totally right. New ult doesn't hit hard early. I don't think we're going to make any mistake about that. But you can at least pretend that it does with a build like this. And that's certainly what this Nuwa seems to be trying to do. And I think that, yeah, actually expended here, maybe for damage. Do you think that there's any kill potential on this Nike, or is Mage or Mid just trying to pad the damage stat?
From what I'm saying, most Nuwa ults that I see that happen like that, it's mostly because they want to know where the enemy team is. If you get a little bit of bonus damage and results in a kill, that's a bonus for you. But as soon as Nuwa presses that 4, you know where the whole enemy team is. There's no line.
Yeah, good to point out the vision that gives, but that also does take away from the safety that this Nuwa has. Don't forget, that is her main way to get away from this dodge shield. And now that Daniel on this Daji has the ult back up, Nuwa does not. That could be a Beads Force here, but we'll see a blue buff invade on the right-hand side. Daji jumps in. I believe that's stolen away, but big damage onto this Daji will go up into the Palau. There's that Spear of Pillar Agni, something like that from the Hades. Ganesh will drop down as well. Very low is this Daji. She's going to back on out of there. Jazz hands away, and Syl big damage onto this Hades. He will go down. Nyx, somehow, the only casualty of that engagement. Daji gets out by the skin of her teeth.
Quite unfortunate that as soon as I'm not sure. Okay, so Dazi's ult was up, but looks like she saved it for the last second to try to confirm to be able to avoid the full duration of Pillar of Agony.
Yeah, that banished her from some of that damage at least, and apparently just enough considering she barely ended up getting out of that one. Now, off of that engagement, it looks like the blue team want to try to grab a Pyromancer. They're going to ping out one person over here on the Scorpion. It's going to be the best Gary, all by his lonesome in the middle of no man's land. Good River's Rebuke, though. That'll buy time for the re-engage. Hades jumping in, will silence out this Daji, or excuse me, this Nike, who is off to the side. Sprint will chase down Gary, wants this kill, but I don't think they're going to get it. Now it's actually red team that pulled this Pyromancer.
They do have to watch out for the Scylla Crush over the wall, though. And there it is! Exactly like I said.
Wow, what a legend. Born to meme on the Scylla. Definitely kudos to you for grabbing that one away. You'll take a shining medal for your trouble, but that's well worth the price of this Pyromancer. And actually, 3 people here. Gary could be in a bit of trouble, but will go ahead and back up. And with that Pyromancer going down, I think we see our first real lead of this game. Got about 1,400 gold, call it maybe 1,500 in favor of this blue team. A little bit of XP, but not quite as much to speak about. So with a 1,400 lead, Shio, is that enough to start looking at this Gold Fury, or where, if you're the blue team, do you think you put your attention now?
Now that the right side is basically cleared, Pyromancer is gone, what you want to do is either A, get rid of this Nuwa, or B, get rid of Hachi, so you can open up the left side of the jungle. I want to see Daji be involved more on the left side, especially from the looks of it. I'm not seeing very much ward coverage on the left side.
No, and I think you're right to point that out, right? That this Daji has a clear path to specifically where that Hachiman is. Hachi does have I call it the Chalice of red stuff. It's the Oracle Chalice, really, but, you know, you gotta have nicknames for everything. That gives him 2 free wards, so he will go ahead and drop one of those down, give him some semblance of safety, but I just don't think that's gonna be enough to keep you safe if this Daji does decide to come over to this left-hand side. And I think, Shio, you're right to point out, this could be a good idea for him to start lending some pressure to Gundar on the Huyi, try to kill this Hachiman, but instead, they seem very dedicated to putting their resources into the right-hand side of the map. You can see that Scorpion goes down, Nike invading this blue buff, trying to do it all on her own. She's actually going to take some good damage into this Bastet. Hades will jump in, but I think that HXH Apti is still perfectly safe here. Now Umoja on the Sirenary will get stunned out. Meanwhile, left lane, Gundar solo kill, back to the right lane. That's a Bastettle. That's going to pull one in. Now Spear of Pillar of Agony, something like that. I messed it up even the second time. That's going to pull one in. She's going to have to jump away from that. All ults traded in right lane, and nothing comes from it. It's actually the kill in left lane. So I could not have guessed that. Pillar of Agony. Thank you, by God, Sypha. I'm doing my best out here, and we're just fumbling.
It was a 3-for-2 ult on the right side, though. So I still see the blue team winning. Oh, what's happening here?
Yeah, what do we have here? Daji gonna go in on this Hades. No ult available. That's the jump. Will get chased out by this Daji. Do they have the damage to finish him off? He's got a little bit of lifesteal. They don't want to let him heal back up, but that damage is more than enough, it would seem, to take down this Hades. Good gank from this Daji once again, who is tremendously active, and we just haven't seen that much from Bash. We haven't seen quite as much commitment to driving the map from Bash, as now Red Team actually going to start up this Gold Fury.
With the 4-man committee that they just saw on the right side, they have a free opening for this Gold Fury. They must watch, though. Oh, never mind. Bastet puts his whole E out, letting them get a free Gold Fury.
Yeah, and I just called Bash's name on this Bastet, and they do a great job of finding where that Huyi is at. That is, like you said, the only person that they didn't know where they were, so the only possibility that they end up losing that objective. I think that Bash is right to find where Gundar was and make sure that they can't do any shenanigans on that Gold Fury, which honestly kind of evens out the impact that we've seen on the global part of the map. That Pyromancer went down for blue team, now red team get the Gold Fury. We're almost back to where we were. You can see that brief uptick in the map, but now, Shio, we're just back to even.
I want to take a look at the builds again. The whole reason that I'm starting to see is the old focal point on this Hades is Nike has Tainted Steel, I want to say, and then Daji has third item, Brawler's Beat Stick. Straight anti-heal, going straight for this Hades, not letting him heal anything.
And by God, now that you pointed out, blue team, they hate this healing. They have an anti-heal item on 4 of their 5 members, and that is definitely a good reason to pick it up if you're against this Hades. He's got that Bancroft's Claw upgrade now online, which is very, very strong recently. This is pretty much the only reason that we've seen these mage and, magical solo laners in that right lane to begin with. What is so strong about this Bancroft's Claw, though, Shio? Is it the damage you get, or is it the sustain and the shielding that you get that is more valuable?
It's the damage that you get, because the longer that you spin without hurting somebody, the more stacks you built up. And when you unleash the full Hades combo on somebody, you can quickly burst somebody from 100 to 0, even as a solo laner.
Yeah, and that's so impactful, right? When you're already invincible and you're still doing all the damage, it feels almost unfair to play against as a backliner. Not that I'm, biased at all as a mid lane boy myself, trying to transition to the support, but that's neither here nor there. What is here, though, is this Pyromancer pull. Blue team seem to want this one again, and Apti's going to lead the charge into the red team, trade out some damage with the Hades, but they seem to be just playing footsies. There's not a whole lot of hard contest going on here, so I think that it's likely that we see this one fizzle out and everybody go back to where they came from.
If we look at the map right now, it looks like only red team has a ward. If I'm guessing that's a ward, or no?
I think you're right. That looks good to me. I think it looks like a normal ward on Pyromancer, and then blue team does have that sentry on it, so a little bit of coverage for everybody. Yeah, there we go. Look at that happy little vision shard sitting right above that Pyromancer. So everyone's well aware of whether or not this objective is being done, and doesn't look like it is right now. You can see, take a look at this map. Bastet looking for a gank on the left-hand side. Doesn't seem to know how far up this Hu Yi was. I think if Gundar gets caught there, that could be tremendous danger for him, but instead he should be able to farm out freely. I say that, Yamoja's still lingering as well. They got one more person providing help, but once again, Gundar jumps back in and will sit comfortably in this tower. What do you think about this dual lane matchup? I mean, Hu Yi, a god we've been seeing a whole lot of, and Hachi, not one we've seen for a while.
When you pick a Hachi, you're normally picking the safety. You got the dash and then the Hachi ult, which can literally take you from one end of the lane to the other safely.
But what is not safe is this Pyromancer. That's going to go down to red team. Now Pillar of Agony. I got it that time, and they got Kumbhakarna. That time, and Ganesh will fall down. Nyx281 will get credit for that one. Now jumping into tower, going to try to finish off this Daji. One more auto will do it, but it is just off the mark here. Now, right side of the map, Apti burned the ult, got chased away. So Pyromancer goes down for the red team. Also, 2-0 goes down for the red team. Things are coming up red. It is looking good if you're a fan of the red team all of a sudden.
Exactly as I pointed out, as soon as the blue team tried to engage, Rivers of Rebuke went up blocking Scylla while she was in her ultimate. She couldn't get close enough to I'm a Monster, the Pyromancer at all, and the timer ran out on her.
Yeah, very good ult from the Beth Gary, and that one shout out the supports who frankly don't get enough love. I mean, it's never, I shouldn't say never, it's rarely flashy when you're playing these support gods, but it always feels good to get acknowledged. So shout out the boy, the Best Gary, on that one, who probably does make the objective saving play there, because I think you're right to say if Scylla gets in there and lands that I'm a Monster right when she needs to, we could be singing a different tune here. It's probably blue team that gets credit for that one, but instead, look at the gold graphs here. Good to point out from Sypha. Down into the red for once is this gold graph. That's about 1,100 gold in favor of red team. And Shio, as we get closer to late game, which one of these compositions are we looking at as the better late game composition?
Everybody, the later this game goes, the harder that new ult is starting to hit. Especially, look at her build. All flat pen.
All flat pen.
All flat pen.
All of it.
So she is not looking to hurt the tank. She is looking to damage the squishies. This
he wants that
build,
dummy
this
backline
build,
damage.
this build is gonna chunk the squishies, and if she manages to chunk the squishies just enough, that is a free entrance for Bastet to try to come around the corner or the back and finish him off with her ability damage, which is one of the highest out there.
We've got plenty of scaling. It does go over time, but we'll talk about that in a minute here. Zoni Fury pulled by this blue team. Red team do know this is taking place. Very low here. I'm a Monster is popped. Does she have the damage? Blue team secure it. Not with the Scylla ult, but now Kumbhakarna trying to dash out. Daji will get one. That's Hades that goes down. And now jumping in is this Nike surrounded by 4 people doing all the damage. That's that big slow we were talking about earlier. Now Bastet gonna pull in one. Gundar gets grabbed, but Apti is just chasing out the entire team. Red team cannot play in this engagement because a great job from this Nike to do a fantastic zone onto the backline of the red team. Objective goes down in favor of blue team. They get 1 life as well, and now things are right back to where they were. These teams remarkably well balanced, and shout out Cryptic Zeus Smite League for that exact balance point. 300 gold separating them. This is balanced on a knife's edge here, Shio. Where do we see this game getting broken open? What is the one thing that's going to get one of these teams into a meaningful advantage?
While everybody knows that the first fire giant that you lose, as long as it's not enhanced, you're still in this game. We're 21 minutes in. So, the Chaos team can still come back into this, but they need to be able to follow up. During that whole fight in the Gold Fury, Hades was the only one on the enemy team. But that resulted in because Nike just completely spaced out the enemy team at the back, not allowing them to push up.
Yeah, she kind of popped off there. I mean, it's again not flashy when it's these tanks usually. It's just a giant Nike that you can't kill running at you. It's not a mechanically difficult play, but fantastic awareness and great recognition of opportunity from Apti to push everybody back there. And like you said, this Fire Giant could be next on the menu for these teams. Ward coverage going down in favor of Red Team. And actually, hang on, Apti getting bursted. 1 HP in that Nike ult. Sunder takes the shield off. Shout out the best Gary for taking that one off. Now Kumbhakarna trapped in that Pillar of Agony will have to dash away. Daji answers back with that pal out. One chain will be down. That's two. Gundar pulled in. Rivers of Beef will cut off the fight for the time being. Now it's just Kumbhakarna surrounded by 4 members. Will be taken down by the best Gary. And once again, blue team just get answered back on 2-0 in favor of red team. And now they're going for this Fire Giant.
I unfortunately feel bad for the blue team. Nike was just feeling herself a little bit too much after that splendid win that they got off that Gold Fury. She was not watching how many enemies were around her until she got crowd controlled, and that was it. Everybody knows it don't matter if you're a tank. If you get crowd control, you're gone.
Yeah, that CC chain was more than enough. And hang on, Daji jumping in on this Fire Giant pit, trying to get the steal. She's going to die. So does Fire Giant, but it doesn't get stolen. That will go down to this red team. And now, Shio, we are talking about this Fire Giant. It isn't the game ender, but it is certainly a good boon for this red team. That will be a strong point for them going into this next siege with what seems to be the greatest lead of this game, about 2,000 gold. If you're this red team, Shio, if you're this Chaos side, are you looking to take down just these towers, or do you think 23 minutes in, you can start looking for one of these Phoenixes?
I would say focus on the towers, clear all that out, reduce the Titan's health as much as you can. Because the later this game goes, the harder the new wall is going to hit.
Yeah, and that isn't going to get any easier as the time goes on. You're absolutely right about that. And honestly, it gets to the point where if you're these blue team backliners, if you start the fight with this Nuwa ult, you have to juggle the idea of, should I just Aegis this 700 damage that I'm going to take, or do I need that cooldown for later? I think that understanding the value of these relics is very important when you're playing against something that just gets guaranteed damage on you like this Nuwa. You aren't going to dodge it, and whether or not you can live through it is one thing, but does it make it to the point that you can't take these fights? We see a lot of these Nuwas build Divine Ruin, build E-Staff, build this proc build, and just ult at the rip to start off the fight, making things so much more difficult for their opposition to mount a defense. Mage or mid might want to consider that, but I mean, with all of the damage that we've been seeing her do up until this point, I think she's pretty much got things dialed in. So we'll see what they end up electing to do here, but it's going to be red team on the offensive for really the first time this game. I mean, we've seen them pull these objectives a little bit, but this is their first shot at pick your spot on the map and try to take a fight at it. So blue team going to have to mount a defense. And how does the Phoenix defense look from blue team? Do you think that they have a good composition to sit under these structures, or is it really feels bad if you're on the blue team?
For the blue team, they do have a good defense, especially with the Ganesh pillars. The Ganesh pillars dropped at the right angle can stop a siege. The Powwow also, if the chains are hit or you get a quick grab off, you can quickly force somebody into the tower, Ganesh silence, follow up with the combo. But you also have to look at the other side. Like I said, multiple times throughout this whole game, every time Daji has gone up to her Powwow, Yamoja has set up the Rivers of Rebuke to separate the whole team.
And now it's going to be Hades jumping in. No rivers quite yet, but we might be seeing it soon. There's that Powwow we talked about, and there's those rivers. No jump available for this Uyi. He's going to get caught in no man's land here. Best Gary will take that one down. Meanwhile, in the back line, Apti fighting versus the entire enemy team. There's a huge I'm a Monster. That kills one. That kills two. Best Gary, 1 HP. Chased down by this Nike is another one. Born to Meme, triple kill on this Scylla. Do you believe in miracles, Shio? Because blue team have mounted a spectacular 5-0 defense.
If everybody looks back to that whole team fight, the unfortunate side effect for the red team was they all grouped up, got knocked up by Nike into a crush with the perfect setup to I'm a Monster. That is the one thing you don't want to do if there's a Scylla still up, is be joint together.
Yeah, we've seen that since the launch tournament. You remember the times of MLC Stealth. That's an old name, but see if you can harken back to that fantastic multi-kill at the end of the launch tournament to net the first win in Smite World's history, and we might be on our way to a win for this blue team as well, who they were on the back foot there, make no mistake, but hero plays made left and right by this blue team composition. They have fought back out of this deficit, now going to take a Gold Fury, and what a back and forth game, Shio. This is exactly the kind of Smite that you love to watch, where it really feels like at any given point, either one of these teams could just walk away with this one. We'll see another pause here as maybe a recollection of thoughts going on from this red team as their siege got completely stifled there. They walked headfirst into that tower, got a great engage off onto Gundar, who, by the way, lives through a Yamoja ult without his jump. I don't know what happened there, but my man is just immortal. And then just a brick wall from the blue team who pushed back all 5 members under that tower, now evening out that Gold Fury, taking that gold lead for themselves. I mean, we are at a point, Shio, where this is an even game again, trending toward a lead for this blue team. Fire Giant not due to respawn for a good while. We've still got another 2.5 minutes on that. What do you do with this time if you're blue team? Are you just farming it out, or do you think you look for maybe a cheeky pick in the jungle, or maybe try to go for a siege?
If you could find somebody in the jungle with the amount of damage that they have, lockdown actually, that would be ideal for them to be able to set up for this next Fire Giant. Another thing that we're looking at here is the Hunter builds. Hoi opted to try to finish the build as quickly as possible and not upgrade his, what's the item called again?
Hunter's Cowl.
No, Executioner.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, you're talking about the glyphs. Yeah.
The glyphs.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about those glyphs, Shio. What's so strong about these Executioner glyphs?
I'm not much of a hunter player, so I cannot tell you about their glyphs. I am a support main. The only thing I can tell you is most hunters normally follow the Hachi path and try to upgrade that for more boxing potential. I think the upgrades paths are Heavy Axe, and I forget the other one.
Well, ferocious execution is going to be the other one. There's a vocab word for you thrown in there, but we've got another pause here as teams kind of hang out, and we'll actually go to a quick pause break because it looks like we might be here for a bit. We'll stick around and we'll come right back with this one. And welcome back, everybody. We'll jump back into this one. In case you forgot, in that 30-second transition phase, blue team, miraculous defense on the right-hand side of the map against all 5 members of red team with this Fire Giant. We are just talking about these hunter builds and maybe a little bit of preferential building from Gundar here, not electing to go into that Executioner glyph the same way that Fogel has on this Hachi. And those damage numbers do start to add up over time, make no mistakes. I mean, these mages have been putting out big boy damage, but don't forget, Nua has been ulting on cooldown, and that's just not fair. You're just cheating for that damage at this point. So I think we're really looking at Apti at the top of this player damage chart, and Nyx as well on the Hades, getting that honorable damage, whereas maybe a little bit of stat padding from these mages. What do you think about these mage builds now that we've talked a little bit about the hunter builds? We mentioned that this Nua going this flat pen build. Why do you think Scylla opted to go for a more conventional build as opposed to leaning into this flat pen?
The way that I see that the Scylla players normally play is the higher power you got, the better you go for with Scylla. Especially with her passive, for every point, every mastery she gets of her ability, that's free power that she gets. So Scylla is one of the characters that literally benefits from having the highest amount of damage that she can get. Because as we just saw literally from that previous team fight, one I'm a monster can swing things exactly the opposite way with that reset on every kill that you get.
You know, one I'm a monster is all it takes to be a hero, and we might need to see another hero play coming out of blue team because red team is positioned very prominently around this fire giant once more. Not quite enhanced fire giant yet, we still got a little bit more time on that, but certainly one worth fighting over. There's that new ult. Look how low everyone is after that one. And that's what I was talking about. Gundar doesn't feel comfortable stepping up anymore. He wants to get a back off. This could be a good time for red team to pull this objective. He has to back here. Shio, do you think they go in now?
I don't think they have any deep wards to be able to know that. Oh, but they might have the wards. Either this or they're starting to bait a fight. You got Apti on the side with the Nike trying to pull somebody away from the fight.
The attraction tactic has worked. That's enough to get them all off of Fire Giant. Apti draws enough attention to make them drop that one. They do have this Yamoja sustain, though, do Red Team, so they could heal up, and now actually Bastet jumping in. There's the Rivers View from Gary. Apti on the back line. One will go down. There's another one. Fogel takes down Apti. Now Pillar of Agony. That's going to get a Scylla ult right on top, but not enough damage to kill it. It's actually Scylla that's going to go down. Fogel will take that one down. Daji jumps into Gary. 1 HP, but doesn't quite get it. Fogel, triple kill in this one, still fighting his way through. Gundar will answer one back, not to be outdone. Hachi is still here, still casting, still looking for this multi-kill. One more dash in, that could do it. Beads and Ink is forced out by Fogel. Gundar answers him back. There's 2 for the Hunter, all Hunter kills in this fight. Gundar jumps out, but the damage has been done. No one has enough health to go to the Fire Giant, but Gundar might need to be a little bit more careful here. Jumping in is Nyx, doesn't have a blink, so no great way to close this gap. I think that the excitement might be over there, Shio. I might take a breath, but what a wild and explosive fight that was.
As we can see there, the fight initially starts off with Nike drawing the attention away from the Fire Giant, bringing the team closer to the side. As soon as they got closer to the side, a crush was thrown over the wall, completely annihilating Bash's health, putting him below the 50 HP range. He then tries to follow up a kill, but unfortunately he goes straight into a silence and gets picked off by Gundar.
And Gundar went kind of wild in that fight, so did Fogel. I mean, they got, what, 6 or 7 kills between the two Hunters, and we've been singing the praises of these mages all game so far. Scylla with that fantastic play in right, and Nuwa making this game so hard for this blue team to play just by applying all of that ult pressure, but ADC's kind of coming up big in that one. That I think that if we see any less damage output from either one of those ADCs, that could have been a much more what is the word I'm looking for? Decisive, there we go, fight going either way. But now, all of this fireworks for nothing. We have all reset, we're all back at this Fire Giant, and actually, Hades jumps in. That's just a wasted Pillar of Agony.
If we take a look at Hades' build, the man has almost no defense other than Axe.
Yeah, he is almost all damage.
He is basically a second mage.
He's basically an assassin at this point. I mean, that's how he's been playing. He's been jumping on dudes wherever they are, pretty much just for standing in front of him. And hang on, we might see another engagement here. Blinking in his Bastet. That's a great Bastet to grab Born to Meme. Damage on the follow-up is off the mark, though, and it's actually Bash that gets taken down. A great initial engage, but just didn't have the damage to follow up. Born to Meme will clap back on that one. A couple of ults burned, and it's just a 1-for-0. You think blue team probably has the power play now.
It's quite unfortunate that during that fight, Apti literally set up the 2 and pushed everybody away. Nike just did not allow any access. Bash was unfortunately the only one in the backline, and as soon as that bubble was burnt, it was it. He wasn't getting out, especially with the jump burnt.
Jump might be burned here from Apti, trying to zone out. This Fire Giant was teased a little bit, but no longer pulled in. Oh my god, that damage from Major Mid. That'll take down Daji and send everyone from blue team packing. Jump in from this Hades. He wants another ult. That's going to be Beads and the ult there. The best Gary just brings everyone forward with these hoops. Hachi doesn't want it, sees all the ults going down, will dash on out of there, but that is enough to force all of blue team off. Now they're trying to heal up as best they can. We've been fighting over this Fire Giant, Shio, for the past 5 minutes. How do we make these fights break one way or the other?
As we can see, Trebuchet's gone. That was the opportunity that they had. But from what we're seeing from these fights, is always that straight coming up from the new wall, engaging these fights. But on the backside, we have Nike once again trying to push in.
Yeah, she's going to try to steal this one away. That will go down red team. What about the fight after the fact? Crush is on the mark there. Nike 1 HP. So is everybody on red team, though. They're going to use those hoops and get on out of there. It's just Bastet still lingering here. So Apti manages to go down, but despite maybe 400 health split across 3 players, all of red team get away with murder, or at least attempted murder there. They will end up taking Apti, but they'll get the burglary of the Fire Giant as well. And we saw the Fire Giant push. We saw the Scylla ult that stopped the Fire Giant push. Do you think that he's got another one in him, Shio? Do you think that Born to Meme can get a huge Scylla ult for a second time here and take out this enhanced Fire Giant push?
This whole fight will once again depend on how the enemy, the Chaos team is grouped up. If we see another type of grouping that they had on the right side, to where they were all too close, that they all got crowd controlled by one Nike 3, we could look at a replay of I'm a Monster.
Well, we'll keep our eyes split for that one, and we'll see red team slowly creeping their way up the map. They are in absolutely no rush here. They've got 100 seconds left on both relics for Nuwa. They can wait those out if they want to. They don't have to push right now. I think that Major Mid can probably make that call that, hey, I don't have my safety tools available. We need to wait for those to come up. So could be a stall tactic here from the red team, but they seem very confident in grouping around this left-hand side. If you're blue team, Shio, what is your defense tactic here? Do you defend these tier 2s, or do you think you just sit under these Phoenix like they're doing now?
Absolutely not. When the enemy team has enhanced Fire Giant, you do not want to leave the safety of your Phoenix, because those towers are going to fall like they're nothing. It's a sandcastle when you have EFG.
Well, the big bully steps on the sandcastle and take that one down, and now shading over toward this mid lane. I like this slow, this methodical gameplay, letting Nuwa get these cooldowns back up. That's a very important tool for her to have down, so I think that they're probably smart for playing this one a little bit slower here, but they might want to go in on this middle Phoenix. They're certainly gesturing, but looks like they're going to go left instead. This could be the game-deciding fight here, Shio.
Hades just backed. But it looks like, oh, no, never mind. Ward gets taken care of. Can't TP in. Oh, never mind. They placed another ward. Looks like he's coming in on one of the back ones.
Yeah,
but
they'll find a way for him to get in there.
Yamoja has Emperors, which means the enemy's towers and Phoenixes are not going to be shooting as fast. So they're looking to force a fight with that Emperors.
And with that Empress, with that Rivers Rebuke that's been so big so far, they have a lot to take down this defensive tool from this blue team. Daji actually going to go up into the powwow all on her own. She gets the bubble, but nothing more from this Bastet. There's one ult down. That's the go button from this red team. They drop that Rivers Rebuke. Now this new ult as well. Huge damage onto the backline. Born to Meme, 1 HP. Suns are dropped as well. Apti also getting fairly low, trying to zone one out. That's going to be Fogel that will take the first one down here. Apti trying their best to zone everyone away, but the damage is just too great. Bash will take down this Nike. Left Phoenix does go down. Now stuns coming out onto Gundar, but damage has been done. Left Phoenix is down. They're going for this middle Phoenix as well. Shio, do you give this one up or do you mount the defense?
At this point, they really don't have a choice. They have to put up a fight. Especially if they just freely allow them to come. Oh, there goes Nyx. Didn't respect the silence.
Nyx will go down, but he is a martyr and he will be traded out for that middle Phoenix. So EFG about to expire if it hasn't already fallen off. 2 birds down, 1 more to go. They're going to try to get this one on the right-hand side, but now that blue team has grouped up in force, seem ready to defend this one, they will take their spoils of war and retreat back into the jungle here. 1 EFG, 2 Phoenixes. I think that's pretty well worth it. That makes this next EFG siege a whole lot more difficult to defend if you're the blue team.
It's unfortunate that whole fight on that left side, Daji did not manage to pull anything other than burn the dirty bubble.
That's
so
true.
As soon as that was a big ultimate just out. And as soon as that ultimate was off, you saw it. Go, go, go. Rivers of Rebuke phrased at a cross angle, not allowing the enemy team to see what's happening. And as soon as that happens, Nuwa goes into the air, big burst damage, 900 damage on the back line. And as soon as I saw that, Basset instantly jumping into the back, trying to pick them off. Forcing Scylla burn her sanctuary, burn her beads. That's times that Scylla's not casting abilities or doing anything, allowing the enemy hunter to just get free damage on the Phoenix. Whenever you pop that sanctuary, you're basically allowing the enemy a free move.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you make the best use out of that tool you can, and blue team gonna make the best use out of this Fire Giant defense. Waves are pushing up in left lane and in mid lane, so one will be babysat, but all of blue team seem ready to spring the fight on this Fire Giant. They are not playing this slow at all. They are waiting to see if they can set up an ambush, and it's actually gonna be Born to Meme. Tries to take the 1v1 with this Hades, won't be able to land the damage, so that's gonna be a retreat from them. Blue team have to be careful of this wave in left. That is pushing up very far.
And unfortunately, you have to remember, Nike did not up for the teleport. So she cannot back to take care of this and then instantly come back into the fight.
Yeah, pings coming out on the map. They know that Nike isn't there. They know no one is defending, so they're going to try to stop these backs. Nike does get the back off, but now red team understand, well, Nike's gone, we have the advantage. They pull this Fire Giant immediately. Hades running the zone game, trying to keep everybody away. One will jump in. Gundar jumps toward. That's going to be the Suns as well. New ult on the mark. Red team will get the Fire Giant the fight after going one way or the other. Gundar will take the 1v1 with Fogel on the right-hand side. Help from Nyx 281 on this Hades will take down the ADC from the blue team. Everybody else in blue jerseys in tatters here, desperately trying to get away. It's just going to be Nike. EFG and 1 kill to red team, now marching up the right-hand side of the map. This could be the game-ending siege.
Like I said, that's the sacrifice you make when you don't get that teleport. If you lose that left Phoenix...
Oh god!
That's it. Oh, instantly gone.
Yeah, that's it for Nike as well. She is dead in 1 second, and now Kumbhakarna might suffer the same fate. Will get the stun out, but that's going to temporarily root him stun once more from this Umoja. Big damage onto this Daji, who's just gone. She lived no more. I'm a monster. Will not save you this time around. Titan will go down for the red team. It took 41 minutes. It was a barn burner of a game number 1, but red team take the 1-0 victory.
Oh, great game that we kept going back and forth. Both teams emphasizing on the little mistakes that they had. That last fight, as soon as they managed to get 2 Phoenixes, fire waves pushing deep in, and then you got to take an account. Like I said, Nike did not get the teleport. She did not up for the teleport. So that means if one of them is forced to back, it's gonna be Nike. That means she cannot join the team. And that is a big slow, the wall that stops basics, I think she had the other version of the shell.
Yeah, she had that fortifying shell. And don't forget, that's 1 giant health bar and a whole lot of damage that Nike was doing as well that she was not present for. So credit to the Chaos team for recognizing their opportunity. That was definitely their best time to go in, and they seized the moment right when they had it and taking that 1-0 victory over the blue team. We're going to throw it to a quick break, but don't forget, we got one more game after this one, so stick around. We'll be right back with game number 2.
Always getting jaded, back around, they're all the same. Never wanna hear me, I've been beating from the start. I got money, I got pills, and I got a broken heart. Fuck the love, I'm needing trust. A kiss can make me stronger, but it's fixing no one's heart. I don't need your glitter, I just need a will to start. Numbing through prescriptions, isolations where I part. So I'm back into the tracker where my head is going mad. Got a 30M of everything, a pill to make me sad. I seen it all before and now I'm reminiscing back. Had to take a quick vacation just to let the feelings pass. I'm aesthetic, and now I get it. Depression had me fucked, I gotta put it in collection. But no wonder why I miss a living past and not the present. Gotta count it on my wrist just to catch up, here's a present. Gotta love me, or probably not. You never fucking see me in the past, those feelings caught. Gotta shut me down, put me down a 7th block. Back into the present where I end up getting shot. I'm fucking broken, you see me empty. Glasses turn to bottle in my head, I'm feeling dizzy. But you never fucking listen, gotta jump to your conclusions. I've been heading in directions where I end up getting bruises. It's what the truth is, I take the blame. Always getting jaded, back around, they're all the same. Never wanna hear me, I've been beating from the start. I got money, I got pills, and I got a broken heart, yeah.
Stay in your lane, yeah, we get a little homie, you been getting some brain. Rapping about how you smoking weed like a chain, but I gotta be the one to throw the industry shade. Told you I've been fed up, get your bread up, you don't drop shit. Dropping so much fire, 2018, it's obnoxious. Put me on the 16, watch the numbers rise, just went from the bubble to the topic. LOL, tell me that I lost it. Low key, love it when they talk shit. High key, working with the OGs, same artist that I was always watching. Crazy, I be living out my dreams. Only 2 years ago I came up on the scene. Sleeping through the day, but I'm working like a fiend. Yeah, she need me when I'm here, and she need me when I leave. Like, they told me that like, when I get cocky, ain't it funny how they think they can stop me? Try to be me, but I'm so sorry you not me. Try to be me, but I'm so sorry you not me. They tell me that like, when I get cocky, ain't it funny how they think they can stop me? Try to be me, but I'm so sorry you not me. You cannot stop me. Ay, no more ballin' on a budget. Never been top 40, man, I'm underground. Right from the sunrise, finna blow up by the time that the sun goes down. Yeah, show you that I run it. Lately I've been on the low, we should make some ruckus. Yeah, old girls gonna want us, but I turn them all down. Hop the market like I'm sold out. Fans for my line for my shows when it's cold out. Wish I knew then what I know now. Wouldn't have stress, wouldn't care about a view. Screwed up at 21, finna grow at 22. From a dollar in the dream, build that shit. Promise every single fantastic. Put the city on my back, at the type of flow that make the whole city do a backflip. They told me that like, when I get cocky, ain't it funny how they think they can stop me? Try to be me, but I'm so sorry you not me. Try to be me, but I'm so sorry you not me. They told me that like, when I get cocky, ain't it funny how they think they can stop me? Try to be me, but I'm so sorry you not me. You cannot stop me.
Oye, no puedo parar. Enemigos yo quiero matar. I hear all the bragging about money you grab. It look like no puedes pagar. Yeah, I see everybody wanna emulate. I'm living even women that I penetrate. I'm a degenerate, but look at what I generate. Never be
you have it. After summer is finished, I need a new passport. New friends, new fashion, loose passes. For collect clothes, I got a few bags in. Now I live in LA, the view massive. And this year my taxes will hit a new bracket. Rah.
They told me that like when I get cocky. Ain't it funny how they think they can stop me? Try to be me, but I'm so sorry you not me. Try to be me, but I'm so sorry you not me. They told me that like when I get cocky. Ain't it funny how they think they can stop me? Try to be me, but I'm so sorry you not me. You cannot stop me.
Neto, it's beautiful.
It's so wavy. Oh, I get it. You think you got it all figured out. You don't need me no more. I'll roll out. Here's my number. I wrote it down. You can call if things turn around. This lifestyle, no, I needed to bounce back and say fuck love. I smoke too much. I think too much. I'll drink until I numb. But that's the way it go. And you an angel with that little halo. We should lay low. Well, if you say so. Feds come, his case closed. That lover ain't go. Every time we argue, I know that she right. Flex with your ex when I know I'm your type. Broke up your friends, kinda ruined your life. This do or die, I'm memorized. Oh, I get it. You think you got it all figured out. You don't need me no more. I'll roll out. Here's my number, I wrote it down. You can call if things turn around. This lifestyle, no, I needed to bounce back and say fuck love. I smoke too much, I think too much. I'll drink until I numb. This lifestyle, no, I needed to bounce back and say fuck love. I smoke too much, I think too much. I'll drink until I'm numb. Got too many demons in my brain. I don't want another feeling of heartbreak. Is it funny how I make the same mistakes? Every time I try again, it's like nothing's changed. I just break. Again, you take. I can feel my face, and my bones will shake. But I'm growing used to the pain, and I don't ever feel safe. When you left that day, I could fucking hate you, and you won't take this blame too. Leave me alone, I'm feeling so cold. I know it's a no, but I don't wanna go. 'Cause I got too many demons in my brain. I don't want another feeling of heartbreak. It's funny how I make the same mistakes. Every time I try again and nothing's changed. Got so many demons in my brain.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 2 of this Amazon Division trial. I am still Kaizo. I am still joined by Shio the Onion. We just saw a 40-something minute game, and that is like almost an extinct species in the way that Smite is played right now. So that was very refreshing to see some nice back and forth action. And now trading out these supports, Shio, we're getting a little bit of a different look at these drafts. What do you think, as far as picks and bans go, needs to be done differently by these teams in order to like really prove an advantage? Do you think that there's any one pick that you need to take off the table?
The amount of bullying that the Hades was doing early in the solo lane was one of the key things that allowed the Hades to rotate and transition well earlier than the Nike could. And as we see that straight here, second ban straight off the bat, Hades gone.
Yeah, that one taken away, as well as this Cupid and this Yu Wong. I don't remember either one of these gods being taken away in game number 1, but certainly will be gotten rid of in game number 2. Alongside there's that Hades, Daji, and Yamoja, all three of those top picks that were featured in the last game taken out, but that does leave open this Lancelot. Shio, is Lancelot a top pick worthy god?
With Lancelot's unique mechanic to where either to get him off his horse you have to stun him, or do damage to him and burn his little health shield, you force the enemy team to choose specific characters to be able to deal with him, which are the Cabra, the Horus, the Guano, these picks to instantly just get him off the horse. Because while Lancelot is on the horse, he can go through a full 4 rotations of his abilities, just absolutely annihilating whoever he decides to go on.
Yeah, so much damage, so much survivability, and so much mobility as well. I mean, I think that goes unsaid a little bit too often, that he's basically got the same movement class as a Willish does with that Suku. He can mount up the horse and then be quite quick to get around the map. And speaking of mounting up a horse, Guan Yu, we did not see this god in game number 1, and this is the god that people are considering to be the best solo laner right now. And Shio, I think that's a pretty smart opinion there. I think that they're pretty much on target with that.
Exactly like I said, they pick up the Artio and they pick up the Guan. 2 characters that have the ability to insta-stun somebody out. Artio in bear form got the roar, it gets Lancelot off. Got the cripple, preventing Lancelot from running away. But with this pick, I am guessing that Guan is going into jungle with this Artio.
I was actually about to ask that, because we did used to see way long before Guan became a top solo pick, we saw a little bit of some niche play coming out of this Guan Yu. He was a jungler for a short while. I believe it might have been Layers that loved to take this pick into the jungle, but obviously now has kind of fallen out of favor. Do you think that this would be Guan jungle, and what, this Artio is solo support? Where are we going with these gods, Shio? What are you thinking?
I'm guessing that this Artio is going into the solo, with this Guan Yu being the jungler. Especially now with the old playstyle of the Guan Yu was you built that high penetration, get 1-2 ticks of Talon Assault off, whoever you're on, their protections are basically gone, including with your flat pen. And you just dash through them, and if they try to run away, get on your horse.
Of course, a good engage tool and a good disengage tool as well, as we see Cabrakan will be grabbed here in this first round of picks, and this Scylla, who was such a scary pick in game number 1. I mean, it didn't end up getting them the victory, but certainly did stall out that game more than long enough to make it a 40-minute banger. And do you like going back to the Scylla? I think that we saw some fights where the Scylla didn't find a whole lot of value. We saw some where it was potentially game-changing. Do you think you pick this one back up, or maybe look to change out to a different mage?
Scylla was providing great amount of damage and great amount of threat whenever she went into I'm a Monster. The fact that they have the Artio and the Guan, that is even better setup, in my opinion, than what they had previously before on the Nike and on the Ganesh.
Well, now that you have seen this Artio get locked in alongside this Guan Yu, I do think that it's worth mentioning that these are both gods that, if you followed the Smite YouTube channel, you would know Aurora believes that these are both A-tier support gods. And we didn't really talk about either one of these, Artio or Guan Yu, going into support. What do you think is the reason that people think this Guan Yu, this Artio, are so much better in solo laner? Or do you think that these gods really do have some flexibility into that support role?
I do agree. They do have flexibility into the support role, but the problem that you follow with Guan is that he has no hard CC other than his ult. So if you put him in that support role, then you are basically saying, hey carry, I'm gonna need you to be safe, because I can't peel you out until I hit 5.
Well, you know who
I-
is very safe is this Charybdis pickup, and I have described this era this Charybdis pick in past broadcasts as this is the new era Jingwei. I think that people are finally starting to realize that this this Charybdis is so ungodly safe in the duo lane. It is next to impossible to kill this character, and Shio, you were talking about this Charybdis would have to be safe with the Guan Yu support. I think that's a pretty safe pickup.
That is definitely a safe pickup. But when the Charybdis pick is immediately the straight counter pick to Cabrakan walls, as Cabra wants to throw his walls down and be able to lock an opponent. But as soon as the walls come up and Cherry can go underwater, she just slides right through, no problem, ignoring anything that Cabra could have done.
Well, now that we've seen our mage matchup, I think that it's important to look at some of these other gods that got locked in. Notably, mage or mid took away the Scylla from Born to Meme. I think that we saw the new Wa in game number 1 looking very good. Now transitioning off of that and saying, anything you can do, I can do better. Watch me play Scylla, and we'll grab that one. But here's this Cthulhu pick, Shio, and we saw this banned away in game number 1. Apparently, this is one of Apti's signature gods over there in the solo lane. Cthulhu, not one we see a whole lot of, though. Where do you think that Cthulhu stands right now against something like this? I believe it's going to be Artio solo, Nix281 taking that one over there. What does the Cthulhu versus Artio lane matchup look like?
This matchup, what I see it is, Cthulhu's passive allows them to build mitigation. The more, I think it's 3 stacks of insanity, or is it 5? It's 5 stacks of insanity, and if he can consume it with Mind Break, he gains more mitigations. But on the other side, Ardio's passive decreases the enemy's protections, decompose, with the more abilities that she hits. And with Ardeo having 2 sets of abilities, Cthulhu has to be careful and not get caught out. Especially in the Entangling Vines, there goes the dash.
Yeah, and you don't want to get that one burned. I mean, Cthulhu fairly forgiving with that cooldown. I think we see gods like Horus get their dashes canceled a lot and don't get that cooldown refunded. Cthulhu, I think one of those gods where you often see that startup animation get canceled, and then you thank your lucky stars that you can get that ability off anyway. But you're definitely right to point out the fact that this is a Cthulhu that needs to be careful if, when, and where he is dashing. But going back over to this dual lane conversation, we thought maybe the Artio support, maybe the Artio solo, and the Guan Yu in the jungle. With this Kali jungle, that puts the Guan into support. Do you think that this is a good pairing for this Charybdis? We talked about it has to be a safe ADC, but do you think Guan is a good enough support to warrant forcing yourself to pick a safe ADC? Or is Charybdis just good enough that you can pick the Guan if you want it?
Charybdis is just that character, that safety, just pure safe. It just like you said, New Age Jingwei. That 3, boom, slide under anything, get away. Press it 2, press it again, increase your movement speed, speed away even faster. The ultimate, CC immunity for a long duration, increase movement speed, and everything that you would want to be able to get out if things go south. And if they do jump on you, instantly 360, turn around, fire it off, pushes your target away, and stuns them, buying you even more time.
So safe and so good right now. I think that this pick has been slept on for a long time, and I'm glad that people finally starting to give this pick a little bit more credit than I think that she was lacking on previously. But now that we got the chance, I mean, I do want to also touch on this Kali. I don't want to just skate over the fact that they've got the late game hyper carry in the jungle. This is a chop shop kind of character who wants to get in, wants to get busy, but doesn't want to do it particularly early. I think that if this game goes 40 minutes again, then we're going to see this Kali very happy. I almost wonder if that's maybe why they picked something so late game is, well, we just got out of a 40-minute game. I wish I was playing Kali in that game.
If that's what they're expecting to drag this game out, then they have a pretty good comp to set it up. The later this game goes, the more damage Scylla will do. Also,
And a little bit of damage put on Kumbhakarna here in the support role. And by the way, just so confusing that my man is named Kumbhakarna but not playing Kumbhakarna. I think I've stumbled over that one once or twice. And what is going on here in the jungle? We've got Bash chased all the way back to their tier 2 tower by this Lancelot. And Lancelot, he really does just run at you, doesn't he, Shio? I feel like this is a god that you just cannot get away from early on.
Lancelot has literally become the new age of W key. That is literally all you do. Especially, you even see it when he gets on his horse. The horse can only go forward. You cannot turn around. You only go forward.
I like that, actually. I like that a lot. And I think that Kali does not particularly like all of the attention that she's been getting from this Lancelot. Mid-camp's contested over, 2-for-1 in the favor of Bo the Farmer. Big one does go down in favor of this Kali. Nox. No, wait, Nox? Hang on a second, let's talk about that. Born to Meme swaps off of Scylla and says, well, what's another mage that has a root on her first ability? And I think that Nox is just the first one to come to mind. Nox, well, I shouldn't say, I should ask you, how do you feel about Nox in a competitive setting, Shio?
When you have a Nox, you're depending on everybody else around you to follow up on any crowd control that you do. And with the Lancelot and Xbalanque, if you root somebody, Xbalanque's breaking bullet damage will instantly just delete somebody. Lancelot as well, preventing the enemy from getting away from him, delete it. And you gotta take into account, if the Cabra walls go off and then you have a silencing circle under, you are automatically forced to burn your beads if you want to jump or get away. The lockdown on the blue team is significant.
And we're seeing some of that lockdown here. Kumbhakarna, Guan Yu locked in and pounded down by Gundar. That will be first blood here in game number 2. About 1,000 gold lead to go along with that, actually, as they do manage to secure that purple buff as we were chatting. So that one will go down in favor of this blue team. That's a big uptick in an early lead for this blue team roster. And against a composition like this red team, I mean, like you said, they very clearly want to go as late as possible in this game. I think we make no mistake about the fact that the double late game hyper carry in the mid jungle for red team, plus a guardian in the solo lane, that takes some time in the oven. You know, you got to cook that one for a good while, and we're still on the preheating stage here, so not the best look for blue team to get the early lead here. How do you transition back into this game if you're red team? Where does this Kali need to go to find some kind of value early on?
Unfortunately, there's almost literally the only person that they can get value on is ganking the Xbalanque, because if you can catch that Rising Jaguar before he gets his CC immunity off, then Kali is able to stick to him and get rid of him. But looking at everybody else, Cthulhu becomes big. You really can't do nothing about him. If you are not safe against a Nox, you're gonna get silenced, rooted, she gets away. You don't want to also, once again, the Lancelot. Early on, you do not want to touch this man. You do not want to fight this man, especially as a late carry that you are called lead. You cannot take a fumble against the enemy jungler, because then he's just gonna take everything that you own.
Yeah, you don't want to touch him. I mean, you don't even want to see him. Let's be real, if you're Bash on this Kali. I think you walk into the jungle and you see Bo the Farmer there, you're like, oh, come on, man, just let me farm my camps. And Bo the Farmer has done a very good job so far of making himself active early on. We saw him here at this purple buff invade on the left-hand side. Is around should his help be needed to secure this one, but considering Gary was there on the respawn timer, I think that one should go down just about for free. And I do want to call attention to Gary on this Cabrakan, because he played so well in game number 1 on that Yemoja, now shifting over from one top meta support to another top meta support. And Cabrakan kind of operates in the same space as Yemoja, right? Where you've got a stun and you've got a big wall that you put up that prevents people from doing what they want to do. I think that Gary seems to have found his identity here on the support role.
You also have to take into account, I think Cabrakan is one of the very few only gods whose second ability, I think, a past update, does not suffer from
Diminishing
It's crowd
returns.
control, diminishing returns. So you can get the 1 second off and then get another second off of pure stun.
Yeah, they did buff those jazz hands, as I like to call them, recently. That first ability where he waves his arms in the air a whole bunch. That does stun for the whole time, no matter what. You are not doing anything to prevent that unless you have some kind of crowd control immunity. But that's a very successful tool to lock these people down. And I mean, we've seen him use it one time to get that kill onto Guan Yu. We're going on an adventure, by the way. I've never seen that part of the map before, and that looked hella cool back there. If we can tab back over, I just want to see. I know they had a statue of Allied back here at one point. I don't know what they've got going on here anymore. Looks like the bridge to Terabithia or something like that. Oh, we're underneath the map now, and we're underwater, and back here with this Guan Yu. And this Guan Yu has not looked great so far, Shio. I mean, 0-1 so far. Do you need to get value out of this Guan Yu early, or is it okay that he's off to a bit of a bumpy start?
He, unfortunately, just exactly as I said, Guan Yu does not have crowd control and before he hits 5. That's usually when he's able to initiate these fights and start popping off. Him taking that early spill, unfortunately, is denying him that access. Because if you look at everybody's current levels right now, if we could tap to that.
Now we're going exploring. Hang on, we're doing some spelunking. There's the level for you.
He is the only one who is not 5 yet. Everybody else is 5 or hitting 6. So he's got some catching up to do, especially when you look at his enemy support, Cabra, who has finished his Manticore spikes while he's barely at a tier 2 item.
Bro, we are going on a journey into the unknown here, into parts of the map never before seen, never before explored. I don't even know if the devs know what's back there. Like, if I go ask Ajax, hey, what's behind the door on the Conquest map? He'll probably be like, I don't know, Amaterasu or something. That is pretty much the only answer I've ever gotten out of that man is something Amaterasu, but something Red Team is going to have to come up with some different looks in this one because they are 1,400 gold down and 0-1 in this set. Don't forget, Red Team did lose that game number 1. We have swapped sides now. There's that statue of Allied that I was talking about. RIP the homie Allied. But back to this Red Team, you said the Kali doesn't have a whole lot she can do. X-Ball may be the only person she can go on. If you are Red Team, if not this Kali, who are you looking at to get you back into this game and start to establish some kind of lead for yourself in the early and mid stages of this one?
Honestly, you want to gain control once again on this Gold Fury side. If Cherry can get a snowball happening on her side, she can also bring big amounts of damage into team fights with that ult that funnels the whole enemy team into one corner. Because as soon as she joins the team fight, if that ult hits the blue team and funnels them in, and it's immediately followed up with I'm a Monster and a Crush, you're getting big numbers out of there.
I'm gonna shout out the lane grabs and shout out the big damage on I'm a Monster. I mean, we saw what it did in game number 1 and certainly can translate into the same path here in game number 2. But like you said, this Kali, she needs to get the Charybdis snowballing. I think that you're right to point out that this is probably the lane that they need to look at. Guan Yu off to a rocky start, like you said, but will eventually get that that cavalry charge available to him, will be able to pressure Gundar on this X-Ball. So you might need to look for some of these buff defenses. I mean, we've seen 2 purple buffs go down already invaded by blue team. You can see right now, one more just went down 5 minutes in. You have to stem the bleeding at some point. You can't just let this red composition this blue team snowball over the top of you. You have to fight back at some point. And I think these purple buffs are probably a good place to start because if not there, I mean, you said it yourself. You're not looking at this Nox. You don't want to go on this Cthulhu. Dual lane is your only avenue into this game. But it's just so tough when that's your lane that's probably losing the hardest at this point. We're pretty much even in mid, even in solo, no fireworks, nothing exciting happening so far. But considering how far behind this dual lane is, they are probably the only reason that red team is at a deficit at this point. I think we could reasonably assume that between the jungle and the dual lane, all of that gold is on blue team's jungler and dual lane. So gonna have to find a way to pad those stats going back in. But we got some mommy issues in the chat. We've got somebody needed to go do something, so I need to go do something, and that's take a drink of water. We're gonna throw it to a quick pause break, and we'll come right back with the action as soon as we're done. Oh, we're live. We're back in it, and we are back into this lead that blue team has manifested for themselves. You know, only 5.5 minutes in, so nothing too crazy quite yet, but you know, 1,500 gold is no slouch, and actually major mid, as I say, that will get the beads for stats, so even worse here for this red team. They need to get to the late game, Shio. We've talked that point to death. If they can manage to find their way to the point that this Kali gets nuclear status, they get this late game hyper carry mid online, they get this Guardian solo online, they're going to be sitting pretty. But it is a tall task based on how blue team has been playing so far. I think that Bo the Farmer has been playing tremendous pressure with this Lancelot, and the best Gary has been having a hell of a set on this Cabrakan, and honestly on the Emoji too. I really love seeing good support gameplay, and I think that the best Gary is doing about as well as he can.
Another thing that we want to notice, just about now, the shard that the farmer put on the red buff has disappeared, but he does have timer on the enemy's red buff now. If we look at this map, I'm seeing a lot more wards from the blue team than I am seeing from the red team, which is something that you do not want to see, especially when you're on the back pedal. you want to know where the enemy team is at all times. And as I say that, it looks like they have Kali just dropped 2 wards near the the bottom of dual lane.
Yeah, maybe Eye of the Jungle from getting that that obelisk stack, and then maybe a vision shard as well, I believe, went down there. So fairly short-term vision, but still some vision nonetheless. I say that Fogel will get poked out in left lane and have to back, not in tier 1 tower, but tier 2 tower. And I talked about this purple buff invade. We're seeing it here. Kali has made the rotation over here, and I think that one might have finally been stripped away in favor of the red team, as now Major Mid drops the I'm a Monster as a get the hell away from my purple buff tool. That won't end up netting a whole bunch of damage, but will certainly make a message sent to the best Gary that maybe don't be so deliberate in coming to this purple buff next time. But Fogel finally got a purple buff on this Charybdis, so he's certainly happy.
Looking at the 3v3 that we have in the middle, I am greatly they're still engaged.
Oh? Well, we thought that there might have been a Kali going the other way, but she went left, and because of that, she'll just walk away from that Kabrak engage and walk on out of there. Kumbhakarna uses the shell on the tick damage on that Nox ult Night Terror ability. That'll get her to survive just barely through that one, and now look at Bo the Farmer, just continuing to harass this Kali, but just off the mark. Oh my god, and a great save from Major Mid will take him off the horse. That damage would have been just enough to finish off Bash, but a good save from the Syl will keep him alive. All low health bars all over the place all the time for everybody on that engagement in the middle lane. It is a true miracle that nobody fell in that one. We've only seen 1 kill so far, but there's been no shortage of these short little scrappy fights, and might see another one here on the right-hand side of the map. Ardio caught out on this Lancelot. I say that she's chasing the Lancelot down into the jungle. That's going to be a silence on her temporarily. Now Cthulhu goes up into the Descendant to Madness. We'll get a good knock-up off onto this Ardio. No dash available just yet, but it's actually right-hand side. Bash chasing down this Lancelot. Will get peeled away by that Nox. A whole bunch of fireworks, but not a whole bunch of fire. No kills go down yet again. More scrappy fighting and not a whole lot coming out of it.
It's exactly as I said. If that Nox is around, Kali has to be careful. Kali had 2 choices there when managing to knock Lancelot off the horse. Is commit to it or run away. But as soon as that bubble was under, she had to immediately turn around. Because if she got caught with that silence grab, Lancelot could have easily turned around and turned that fight on her.
Now, beads are available for this Kali, and I think that's probably in her best interest. We'll see a solo purple buff invade this time. No Kabrakan to help out, but it doesn't seem to matter. I think that Gundar are going to get this one, no contest really. And now Whirlpool formed by this Charybdis. Fogel doesn't like it. He's got Major Mid coming in. Syl ult is popped. Is it on the mark? That's going to be good damage onto Gundar. 1 crush should do it on the mark as well. That's going to be a good stun from Fogel after Mage takes out 1. 1 for 0 on that engagement. Purple buff does go down, and finally some sparks of life from this red team who clap back onto Gundar, who, quite frankly, has been gooning around these purple buffs.
Exactly as I said, I'm starting to see, hopefully they now see this. They need to put emphasis on this left side to get this cherry up ahead. Because as soon as we saw that tight little corner in the dual lane, through, what is her ultimate? Into the, no, that's the wrong one. The Maul. That tight little corner there instantly pushes both Cabra and Lancelot backwards and then stuns.
What is Charybdis' ult called? Let's find out here. We'll get a little education in us, the Maw Hunger. So, you know, 2 for 3 isn't bad. That's 66%. That's more than good enough for me. Wait, what was her ability called? Was that 2 capsize? Oh, that's such a sick name for an ability. I kind of love that. I didn't know that, but that's a really cool name, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to call that every single time I can. And finally, called for this purple buff defense. Like I said, that is a good decision to finally rotate over and give some help to Fogel, who has kind of needed it in this dual lane. We've seen a lot of good pressure applied by Gary, and even in the 1v1, Gundar has been able to play very aggressive onto this Charybdis, who, of course, like we said, very safe, but doesn't fight particularly well back into the pressure.
We're About to see a little bit of that pressure again as Gary shows up once more.
Yeah, he's going to be over here. There's that Maw Hungers. We know what that one's called, and that's a good wall. That'll stop her completely. Where are you going? You are going to Fountain. That was a great wall and a great stun by Gary. Damage is good from Gundar. How about this fight on the right-hand side? Seems to be over this Scorpion. They will manage to secure this one, it looks like. If upgraded buffs will go the way of red team. So despite the fact that they lose Charybdis, they get some kind of win on the right-hand side of the map. I just love that ability. The Maw Hungers, that's such a cool name. I can't get over that.
It's unfortunate, as we're saying, as soon as a little bit of relief is given into the duel lane, instantly taken away by the blue team as they capitalize it. And speaking of that, it looks like they themselves will try the Pyromancer.
They're going to pull this one half HP or less. Scylla pops the ult a little early there, so won't be able to secure with that one. That's a good stun on Defoe the Farmer, and he is just instantly dead there. Now Cthulhu, no dash, does have the ult though, descends into Madness, knock up at his feet, will buy him a little bit of space, but he's still got 4 people here. They don't want anything to do with him though. Look at the damage return there. Shell will come out from Kumbhakarna just to keep everybody topped off, and it is only this Artio that feels comfortable stepping up, because look at this, Gary coming in on the left-hand side will get a good stun out onto Artio. That's going to take one down. Aptio will get credit for that on the apparently signature Cthulhu, and I mean, for good reason. He has looked pretty good on this one so far. Only 13 minutes in, but very comfortable in the solo lane on this pick. And I like that you have these weird picks that not a lot of people are playing that you're so comfortable on. It makes it so much more difficult to ban you out when you play both the meta stuff and also your own flavor.
And it's exactly as I said with the Nox. The Nox came in, silence, signaled out Artio, not letting her go, allowing for the ability rotation of Cthulhu to come back to drop the mire and continue to root her in there.
Yeah, any and all lockdowns certainly good there, and that's probably more than enough to take down that Artio, as we find out who, notably both of these solo laners going for this Fey-blessed hoops. And Shio, this has been the flavor of the month for just about anybody that can buy it. I mean, we saw the Manticore spikes for a long time. We still see it, but most of the conversation is around these Fey-blessed hoops. Why don't you tell me a little bit about why this item is so good? After Lancelot finishes diving towers, he's going to go in and ult between them, but now Major Wind has an ult of his own, will return damage onto that Lancelot. Cabrakan, what are you doing, my man? Caught out here in no man's land. I'll tell you what he's doing. He's turning around on Major Mid. Beads forced out on the Scylla, will jump away, so should be good, but Shio, I desperately want to talk about these Fey-blessed hoops that they keep on fighting. Give me a little bit of analysis. Why is this Fey-blessed hoop so good?
Okay, if we could highlight over the listen, as we can see, every time your ally dies within you or you are healed with an allied ability, you drop a flower that basically grants a shield. You're basically getting a mini...
Shell?
Shell. You're getting a mini shell, and it is especially very good in team fights. Because if team fights are wild, normally you would see you yourself are not going to be the first one to die. It's either going to be the enemy team is looking to get rid of one of your squishies. If one of your squishies dies, you just come back, pick up that little shield, and try to get back into that fight. And especially with gods who have healing on them, it allows them to be there, as we saw it last game on the Yamoja.
It looked very good for that Yamoja, those shields and that healing, very good at keeping these members topped off, and now Cabrakanal will go down onto Kumbhakarna. We've seen this one before, we've seen that I'm a Monster as well. That'll hit 2 members, and now it's Cthulhu pretty much by himself up here, trying to force everyone away. It is notable that Gundar has made the rotation. X-Ball is here and on the scenery. A teleport back in from Artio will temporarily even up the numbers, but here's the ADC. He has been in the cooker all night long, now dashing in, will find some purchase in this team fight. Nyx will get hard crowd controlled, pulled back in, knocked back up. Gundar on rotation will get credit for that kill. They used the Cthulhu ult, they used a couple of others, but now it's just this Scylla here to play defense. I don't think they can go for the Fire Giant, but Pyromancer should certainly go down.
Has destroyed the Pyromancer.
Easy, once again. Blanke, straight lead. Got it. Able to rotate freely because he already took his tier 1 earlier on while there was happening a fight in the right lane, allowing him to get a free rotation off. Now, they can, as soon as the Pyromancer's gone, they can now start making this rotation, and with the pressure that they already have in dual lane, I'm seeing this Gold Fury following very soon.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that. And Charybdis has to be kind of careful with pathing here. I don't think Bo the Farmer knows quite where they are, so we'll live to see another day, it would seem. But that could have been messy, and I think that you're right to point out the fact that this Gold Fury is next on the map. Anything on this left-hand side of the map could really come next in short order, because we've somewhat out of nowhere seen a 5,000 gold lead develop. I mean, it's only 2 kills separating these teams, but make no mistakes, the gold, the experience between them, we're seeing a 2-level lead in support, 2-level lead in ADC as well. That's very meaningful right now, as is this 5,000, almost 6,000 gold lead. Blue team, once this Cthulhu backs, they can look for just about anything they want on the left-hand side of the map. And Shio, you gotta tell me, are you looking at this Charybdis, or do you think you want the Gold Fury?
Oh, well, we gotta Crack's gotta be careful right here.
Yeah, he does have to be careful, and I don't think careful is what you can necessarily call that, Gary. I've been singing his praises this set so far, but we'll sing a sadder song for him as he goes down for the first spill of the game for him. He takes away from the pressure that they had, but, you know, one death isn't the end of the world, and I think once he comes back up, you could potentially still look at this middle tier 1 tower is something that a lot of these teams will look at this stage of the game. Gold Fury is certainly an option for them. We're kind of at the point where we are almost at the big lead. This is the small lead that turns into the big lead, where it feels like you can start to take these fights more confidently. They just have to find their moment and take it from this red team, and they have had no problems taking just about whatever they want to from this Chaos team so far. Where's the next angle of attack, Shia? What are we looking at?
As we can see, this Gold Fury is the next angle of attack. This is what the blue team wants to be able to have, because Xbalanque is engaging by himself.
Oh, no.
Nobody around.
Yeah, that's going to be the beads forced out from him. Tallow Assault and Cavalry Charge will spell that one. That's a gigantic push from that Charybdis ult, actually, and there's a Scylla ult on the mark as well. The sister ults will do good damage onto this Kabrak, and meanwhile, Born to Meme answers one back. Support will go down. Jumping in is this Kali. Destruction ultimate pop. Does he manage to get the reset? Will not. Lancelot will dash through, finish off Bash, and now on this backline, Scylla dashes away. Meanwhile, front hand side of the fight, still low health bars. Blink in from Bo. Major mid will pop the beads. Damage is good. Aegis is a little better to save just a bit more time. There's that reset on those cooldowns, and one single HP will get Major mid out, but it is no such luck for the rest of the red team. Blue team gets everybody but the mid laner. They only lose X-Ball, and well, you said it yourself, Shio, that could be Gold Fear. I think that one's going to go down just about for free now.
Unfortunately, when you look into this team fights happening, while the Chaos team did have the numbers really didn't mean anything when the level lead, item lead on the blue team is just exponential.
Oh, yeah.
Xbalanque has 4 full items complete already, while we're looking at Cherry once again opting to finish the Executioner glyph before even going into her 4th item.
And that does give her a little bit more damage on tanks, but you're totally right that does prolong the late game flow of her build. She doesn't get to see quite as many items quite as quickly because of the way that she chose to itemize, but now 8,000 gold. We talked about this could be the small lead that leads to the big lead. I think we're definitely in big lead territory here. 21 minutes into this game, everybody fairly grouped up and ready to go. You see Relics coming off of cooldown for this blue team in about 60 seconds. I think that just about a minute from now, Shia, we might see this first Fire Giant under contest. They look awfully ready for it.
I also want to point out Gary, the best Gary's build. Manticore Spikes, Stone of Binding. Two items that anybody who you crowd control takes increased damage. The person who picks up the Manticore Spike does extra damage. And with the amount of crowd control that Cabra has, I feel sorry for whoever gets caught.
Well, you feel sorry for the red team as well because Nyx tried to make the hero play here. Fire Giant was under contest, but just could not be stolen away. Blue team will get that one. 10,000 gold just under in favor of this blue team. Now grouped up 5 members on the right-hand side of the map looking for this tier 2 tower. Charybdis is split pushing, but no fun for even that Charybdis on the left-hand side. Teleport will come out from Cthulhu to stop the madness over there and maybe cause a bit of his own. Actually gonna chase this Charybdis as far away as possible, and we'll see blue team sieging this tier 2 tower. And Shio, is this a Phoenix Fire Giant or is this a Tower Fire Giant?
I'm looking at it more a clean up the towers, because you got 2 towers in the middle still that they have not done, which looks like they're about to clean up right now.
Yeah, they'll get tier 1 in just about 2 seconds. I mean, that didn't last particularly long at all, and now grouped up for this tier 2. That's actually good poke out from the Scylla onto Bo the Farmer. Will mount up the horse and ride on out of there, but I don't know that they'll be able to defend this one. They look like they want to go for a try. Kali lingering on the backside. That's that Tallow Assault into Cavalry Charge, and actually a huge stun! Scylla ult will just delete 2 people. Major Mid gets another one in this fight. Firing back is this Nox, gets that Night Terror off. That'll slow down the push, but by God, that stun into that Scylla ult was shades of game number 1. That was potentially a siege stalling push there from this Scylla, from this Kali, but take a look at this, Ardio teleporting back in. They want this Pyromancer and Shio. It looked good for blue team, but now red team might just get the Pyro, might get the fight. I mean, Born to Meme sitting on this left-hand side has been spotted out by this Ardio. Will have to dash away here. They don't look comfortable keeping this one up, though. This is a little awkward for them. Cthulhu actually goes dashing in, does have the ult, and huge explosion damage will take down Kumbhakarna on this Guan Yu. Now still descending into madness is this Cthulhu, surging toward this Charybdis, but no more kills to be found. Shio, we saw the siege looked good, but that engage from Bash and Major Mid, I don't care that they lost Kumbhakarna at the end of it. That was hot.
It's, once again, as I said, the Guan Yu start off once he gets that ult. Once the cavalry charge is engaged, the amount of people that can get stunned in that radius is huge, and immediately followed up with I'm a monster in a crush, deletion. Unfortunately, on the other hand, we also have to look at Kumbhakarna. 2 levels down against his opponent.
Yeah, and that's 2 very impactful levels as well, because take a look at what the best Gary Kabrakan has just finished here. That Sentinel's Embrace is a very important distinction between these 2 supports. Notably, you know, these guys, they get their starter items at level 15. And that Sentinel's Embrace is a very good one. That's a whole bunch of protections that you can give all to your team. That's a whole bunch of gold that you're going to be getting every single second, every single tick. You're getting a little bit more. It's a very big gap. You're totally right. These 2 levels between these 2 supports, and it is widened to 3 now. This is very meaningful. I mean, despite the fact that they got stopped out on that siege on tier 2 tower in mid, they still seem very confident in taking these fights, grouped up in force around this Gold Fury. Primal seems to be the call from them, Shio. Do you think that they should go for this one, or maybe just keep sieging?
Securing the Primal to me is always something that you want to do, because once you get that Primal, Fire Giant just becomes easier. That buff that you get, that you deal to jungle camps, is great. And you also got to take into account, you want to take everything that is on the field. You want to drown the enemy team. You don't want to give them anything to be able to come back in.
Well, Nyx is going to blink in here onto this Primal Fury. Doesn't get the steal, but will they manage to get the fight on the back end caged in? Meanwhile, Cthulhu rampaging in the back line all by his lonesome, forces Scylla to get on out of there. Kali will burn the ult, trying to take him down, but still just healthy enough is this Cthulhu, who does a solo zoning job there. Keeps everyone away. Blink exchange for blink here. Best Gary does his best impersonation of a Dragon Ball Z fight. Instant transmission for instant transmission exchanged between the support and the jungler. And I said this siege might not be over. They got the Primal. Now they want this tier 2 tower. Fire Giant could be next on the map, and you said it yourself. That Primal Fury makes that so much easier for them to do. Red team, on the other hand, they are very far down, Shio. 12,000 gold, call it. Fire Giant just now falling off due to respawn. Do you contest this if you're red team, or is there somewhere else you should be turning your attention?
Unfortunately, with almost nothing else big being on this map, and with you being this low, you can either A, let them have it because it's not enhanced and you still have an opportunity to defend on a Phoenix good, or B, you just try to continue to farm because Guan needs these levels, Guan needs these items because he's just getting bursted down.
Kind of getting exploded a little bit. I mean, one CC chain, one good cage is really all it seems to take to bring down this Kumbhakarna Guan Yu, who a lot of defense, but I would say not a lot of health, but actually Glad Shield in the Fablest Hoops gives you a whole bunch. That's somewhere around the neighborhood of 600 there, so fairly tanky. It's just the levels that are keeping him down, and Cthulhu now starting up the zone as Fire Giant pulled here. Blue team are wanting this one. Red team do want to contest. There's the mount up from Kumbhakarna. He goes dashing in. Fire Giant very low. Syl ult will actually not hit the objective. Goes for the damage, but it's not going to be enough. Gundar gets one. That's another one. Answer back for Bo the Farmer. Hang on a second. Blue team suddenly pop off out of nowhere. Only the Kali left. I thought they just wanted the Fire Giant. They seem to want the whole game. 4 kills down to 1. Lancelot chasing down this Kali seems to have the speed, the agility, the determination to catch up, but the horse on the other hand does not, so Kali will manage to get back. But I don't know, Shio, do you think Kali can 1v5 this one, or do you think this is going to be the game?
I feel like this is a wrap. This is a wrap. There's really not much that they can do. Fire Giant buff, only one person up with not. This is a game over.
Yeah, it looks a little chalked here. Bash has to make some kind of miracle play. That's a big blink stun, but I just don't know how much it's going to matter. That's one kill answered back, and that's the Titan falling one more time here as Bo the Farmer will get the final kill of this game number 2, and they looked very good in game 2. I mean, it was incredibly close, like a true nail biter in game number 1, but make no mistake, it was all blue team all the time in this game 2.
Blue team's draft just synergized well with the amount of crowd control that they have. If Cabra confirms the stun, Nox confirms the grab. If Nox confirms the grab, Cabra confirms the stun. Cabra walls go up, silence under, you gotta burn beats to get out. You really can't do anything. And another thing is that as soon as Kumbhakarna engages with cavalry charge, Cabra can literally put up the walls behind him and not let his team follow up.
Yeah, and he certainly was more than capable of doing that. I think that we were right to sing the praises of the best Gary in that one. Shout out the supports, and also shout out these mid laners who, by the way, swapped teams partway through that one, but didn't really seem to bother Major Mid, even on the losing team. A great slash line to speak of, put out a bunch of relevant damage, very intelligent positioning, stood everywhere that he needed to. I think that both of these mids just about interchangeable, and both of these teams would probably agree with me on that one. And don't forget, that's really the point of all of these divisional trials, all of these prospect games. You are trying to make your mark on this league. This is a draft league. You want to get drafted. You want people to think that you're good. And I think that both of these mid laners have certainly made that impression for you. But Shio, I'll ask you, who was your one standout player? If you could only get one of these guys for your draft, who are you picking up of these 10 players?
I have to give it to the best Gary. Exactly like I said, this man's positioning, setup, and separation of the enemy team when he was on the Yamoja and the Kabrakan just allowed his damage to do whatever they wanted. Because when he was the Yamoja, Palau goes up, Rivers of Rebuke completely separates the enemy team. They can't follow up. Whoever was stuck inside of the Rivers of Rebuke was gone. On the Kabrakan, completely separation, the blink, stun, walls, tremors, crowd control.
It was truly a flow chart from start to finish for the best Gary. It seemed like he was playing 3D chess and everyone else was playing checkers. And shout out to the support, and also shout out our production, Sypha running the camera for us, operating the stream, bringing you guys all the action. But that is going to do it for us tonight. I have been Kaizo, and I have been joined this set by Shio the Oni, and we have brought you 2 games of these divisional Amazon trials. So make sure you keep an eye out, see where you guys place in these divisional trials, and don't forget, we'll have have more games to bring to you guys, a couple more trials to go down, and then I believe it is next week, maybe somewhere around the week after, maybe the 27th off the top of my head when these drafts are going. So make sure you keep your ear to that announcements channel in the Cryptic Zoo Discord and make sure that you're following up and getting all of the best news from this league. And that is going to do it for us for tonight. And thank you for coming out and watching us. And we'll see you guys next time for even more Cryptic Zoo Smite action.
They go by the shoot y'all. My heart breaks when you call my phone. Why can't you just leave me alone? Just leave me alone. Hey, hey. My heart breaks when you call my phone. Why can't you just leave me alone? I can't escape the way you made me feel. You made me feel. Hey. My heart breaks when you call my phone. Why can't you just leave me alone? I can't escape the way you made me feel. You made me feel so I'm trapped out. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I'ma fall in the back of my coupe. Shout out to my brother in that coat. Ayy, ayy. I got 2 damn phones. Call me Kevin Gates. Get these bands, lock them up, put them in a race. Don't need no safe. We get older, all our feelings change. Don't feel the same. No, I don't wanna feel this way.